Hello, I'm just going to start talking because I can never tell with these. It says it's redirecting, but it doesn't say it started. But now I'm started. So I'm going to say hello to everybody. And hi, I'm so glad that you're here. I've got with me my dear friend, Dr. Anna Cabeca. And we're excited to talk to you tonight about topics that are near and dear to our hearts. We feel really passionate about empowering women, especially, but men too, to really take charge of their health and their hormone health. And we see this whole menopause thing as something that we don't necessarily have to suffer through. There's a lot of ways around it. And food is a great approach to it. Food and nutrients and herbs, as opposed to just medications and things like that you're used to and just living with it, right? So I'm excited to share this with you. And what I'm really excited about is I get to be with her in person in about 2 weeks at our Shine conference, which is happening, November 3rd through 5th here in Austin. So if you haven't signed up yet, go ahead to shineliveconference.com, and that will take you to the registration page, and you'll see Dr. Cabeca's pretty face there and her description of her talk, and among others, where you're going to also see Dr. Tom O'Brien and Dr. Deanna Minich and Steph Jackson and Dr. David Weinthal and Tony St. Clair. And we're all planning to make this a weekend for you to remember. So shineliveconference.com will take you there. So hello, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Ritamarie, it's great to be here with you too, and I'm excited about the Shine conference. I want to let our viewers know that really it's a tremendous amount. People want to know, how do we do this? You know, most of the people there are clinicians working with other providers, and many are there for their own health, like their own best subject, right? Kind of just working through their issues and have hit a wall sometimes, or, you know, have clients that like, what's the next right step? And the foundational information plus the really high level stuff. I mean, you don't stop anywhere. It gets to really high level and digging in deep and really giving tools, practical tools. And I'm excited. Of course, I'm speaking about one of my favorite topics. So excited to really address the issues as it comes to women's health, and excited to be here with you, and we can address any viewers' questions that come at us for hormones, any integrative medicine questions. That's cool.
And I know, you know, for you and I, like, we started in this field a long time ago, before anybody that's listening probably even heard of functional medicine. And I wish we had conferences like this to go to. Yeah, we had the continuing ed credit things where you'd sit there and just like scramble to take notes for 3 days and then say, what am I going to do with this? But to have a conference where you can go and you can learn and you can have fun and you can review the basics and you can meet other people, and you have practical strategies when you walk away from that conference, practical stuff that you're going to put into your practice right away when you get back. So that's what I'm excited, and that's why I love doing these, because people just rave about all the handouts we give them and all the protocols and everything that they get that makes their life so much easier as they go through. So our topic is female hormones, and I know you are really excited about that. I mean, as an OBGYN, so Dr. Cabeca is a board-certified OBGYN in practice for many years. How many years were you in practice before you?
20 years.
20 years in practice, right? And turned to functional medicine really early on and started learning other things. She's got so many certifications, I don't even want to begin. You just got a new one, didn't you? A new certification?
I have board certified in integrative medicine. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So she's got all this down under, and we've been, you know, probably both doing it for as long, but what better place to learn about female hormones and all the things that go with it than from an OBGYN who turned functional and nutritional and spiritual and all those other great things that we know is part of healing. So yeah, and she's also developed some products. She's got the Mighty Maca product, which is a hormone balancer in and of itself, a green powder that you can use with tons of different herbs and stuff. And most recently, that I see so much excitement about, we got our samples for putting in the bags, it's beautiful bags with the samples and all the literature about it. But it's an amazing product that addresses something that really never gets addressed. And I guess so tell us a little bit about Well, just tell us a little bit about your philosophy and your journey and how that all puts together.
Yeah, happy to share that. So, really it stems way back just from growing up in a, very international, diverse family with food as medicine and thinking, okay, there's got to be better ways. And watching the health of specifically my mom decline early on from polypharma and losing her early. I was in my first year of residency at Emory when she became really ill and needed we thought an aortic valve replacement, but she never made it through surgery. She was only 67 years old. And what I learned was, that was, I call it the devil's pitchfork. It's going to take down good women. And that is, the prongs are hormone imbalance, inflammation, and adrenal dysfunction. Those three things really take down the best of us. And I don't want to see that happen to any other. So I kept looking like, what did I miss, right? What do? And believe me, there's so much I wish I knew then that I know now that has made a difference and really has changed the trajectory of lives and kept people from medications, gotten people off medications, kept people from surgery, and just, really gaining that quality of life. And, my kids are here and they just got out of the pool and they're running around if you hear some screaming in the background, but as they get ready for bed on a school night. But it's, so much needed their grandmother around. And I saw the health of women decline, and research in women is so inadequate. It was 20 years ago, it still is inadequate. And so I've really tried to find natural holistic solutions that get to the root of problems, and personally and professionally. And so my journey is one that took me around the world, but that started with finding a solution to help women and men with hormone imbalance and fatigue and stress and all those good things that can hit us at really any age. But that created Mighty Maca, the superfood combination that has, adaptogenic, like genetic adaptogens in it, right? We know resveratrol, turmeric, quercetin are all very highly functional foods. And that's all in my Mighty Maca, which is organic kosher maca, in this formula of over 30 superfoods too. So that's just been a very holistic formula. We also call it the hot flash fix. So for anyone suffering with hot flashes, for sure, you got to get some Mighty Maca on. And then, just dealing with vaginal dryness and vulvar dryness and sexual dysfunction. And as I started really in 1999, focusing on, or an aspect of my medical practice, which was a very general practice, here in Southeast Georgia, I focused on sexual health. And so I focused on hormone therapy in women that were told they couldn't use hormone therapy, and really what that meant. So using androgens in women like testosterone and DHEA early on, and just feeling very comfortable with it. And then after retiring my practice, I wasn't able to prescribe, for clients that I haven't seen. And so I wanted to come up with an over-the-counter natural solution that was, looks good, feels good, smells good, tastes good, all that good stuff that can really help restore our feminine lady bits that suffer over time. I mean, hot flashes will stop, vulvar vaginal dryness continues, and then it leads to, worsening bladder leaking and pain with intercourse and all those things that we don't have to power through, we don't have to deal with. So Julva came about from that research, and it's been women love it. Women love it.
Yes, totally. The thing though that I really want to address here too is that when, like your mom and my mom too, sudden death from heart attack, and we don't associate it with the hot flashes or the menopausal symptoms. It's just, that's annoying stuff, but we don't have angina. We don't have, any diagnosed hypertension or anything like that. So people just assume that all's right on the inside, but what they don't get is the imbalances that create the symptoms of menopause are also impacting the heart and the bones as well. So I would love to hear you address that, because I think people just like, I can deal with it. I can deal with the hot flashes.
Right. It's a symptom of something else that's going on. Let's talk about one of the other symptoms of the menopausal change, and that's palpitations, right? That all of a sudden that pounding in your chest that takes you to the ER, takes you to your primary doctor, and they're like, okay, well, a beta blocker, or let's, do something. Hopefully they're giving you magnesium, but really you need progesterone, right? That's an estrogen dominant. You need some magnesium, you need some progesterone, you need some good aminos, you need to decrease You need to improve cell membrane function. And that's what we do as functional medicine doctors, right? We want all the way down, like what's the underlying reason for the symptom, right? All the way down.
Deeper and deeper and deeper. Like, okay,
Yes.
I got hot flashes. Why? Well, because I'm 52. Okay. Why do you have hot flashes? Because
you don't have to. Right.
My estrogen's out of balance. Why is your estrogen out of balance? And you just keep going backwards, and then you address whatever comes up. And that's the piece that you and I are very passionate about, and are passionate about teaching other practitioners as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love it.
Oh, boy.
I love it. It just changes the trajectory of their lives. And, we think now we're in our 50s plus, right? This is a whole nother journey. And I want to let women, we fear it. Many of us fear it instead of embracing it. But it's like that early part of our life. Women, we're pros at this. I mean, when we went through menarche, when we first got our periods, right? What a crazy transition time period. Give me this, don't give me that again, right?
Exactly.
How scary was that? So we can recognize that there's a healthy way to do it naturally, and there's an unhealthy way. Our teenagers, our daughters, if they're having painful periods, irregular periods, we don't want to just slap birth control pills on, right? We want to get to the underlying issue. Let's address that, and you won't need to deal with these problems. And that same true here. We can create a healthy transition because our body, I like this biblically because Ritamarie knows I'm a chaplain, and I really do integrate a lot of spirituality into my work and just into my daily life. I mean, it's who I am. But one of the things that I really loved was that, in the Bible, and all of us hear this, our body is the temple of our spirit. But really, the word in Greek for temple really stands for a cathedral, not just any cathedral, but imagine the most ornate, exotic cathedral. Your body is that exotic cathedral of your spirit. And it's important on a cellular level to be clear, because we're energetic beings, and to have that higher energy and higher vibration and spiritual connection. Our physical body has to be really balanced and clear. And it's interesting how we can fine tune that in the menopause to really have some higher conductive spirituality.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So what I want to do, here's what I want to address things that people want to hear about, but I also have a couple of things I want to just throw in there while I'm checking. So I'm going to do is check in to see who's here and see what kind of questions they have. But there's one thing that I hear, I hear it over and over, and I see it a lot on when I do hormone balance tests with the metabolites, I see a predominance of, I see a lot of people who have low 16-hydroxyestrone, which is considered a breast problem, right? It's a problem with estrogen sensitive cancers if it's too high, but if it's too low, it can lead to bone problems. So I would love to, for people to understand, what is the connection between osteoporosis and bone weakness and the hormone imbalances that happen at menopause?
Yeah. So that's a great question. Again, what creates debilitating life force for us as we get older? And certainly hip fractures, right? Put us on a wheelchair, limit our mobility, we're more homebound. And that just starts a downward cycle, hip replacement. And from there, it's just downward for us as women. And so prevention is the answer. And we hear about in bone health how estrogen decreases bone loss, right? And it does. Estrogen definitely decreases bone loss. And that's an important thing. So we need a healthy amount of estrogen on board. And our own natural estrogen and the derivatives from our androgens to our estrogen, that's a healthy bioactive estrogen. And that we can also look at the estrogen metabolites, because there are unhealthy aspects as well. But we know that estrogen decreases bone loss. But what I want to say here is that DHEA and testosterone promote bone growth. So actually increase osteoblastic activity, so helping building back the bone. And that's hugely important. There's no, Fosamax or anything else that does that. That's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. And you just what the research shows that after too long years of use, in fact, you're not supposed to use it for more than a few years, is that we can actually have hard but brittle bone. And we want flexible, elastic bone. So how do we do that? Exercise, yoga, stretching, long walks, nothing better than those long walks, really. And keeping good, healthy adrenals, keeping good, healthy androgens on board, and often as a first line. Now, whenever we're using as bioidentical hormone replacement doctors, replacement, whether it's from the top with progesterone or from the bottom with estrogen and testosterone, we want to look at where those hormones are going. So we look at estrogen metabolites, and we really want to look at the 2, 4, and 16 methoxyestrogen metabolites. So are we methylating, first of all? And that goes back to getting enough greens, dark green leafies, methylated folate in our diet or supplementing with, and just making sure that we've got that good, healthy balance on board. And so we don't want it too high and we don't want it too low. And we definitely want to avoid the 4 and 16 hydroxyestrogens.
Being dominant.
We want to keep it to 2.
Yeah. Okay. So getting back to like food wise, right? Because this is all about food as medicine. What would you say are foods that people should be coaching their clients to include in their diet for healthy hormone balance, and should be eliminated from their diet for that? And I'm going to have everybody, if you have a question, anything at all related to food and hormone balance, then go ahead and just type it in and I'll go ahead and read them. I see that Jane just joined, and Maria and Jody and Lynn and Keldy and Mary, Amy Beth and Alexandra, and who else is on? Doreen, Lydia, Paulo, who did I miss? Shahara? Welcome, everybody. So I know you have questions, and whether you're actively in practice or just still studying to be in practice, I'm sure that questions come up. If people come up to you on the street, even in the supermarket, and they know what you do, and they'll be asking you, well, how do I get my hormones in balance? How do I get rid of these hot flashes? And what are some foods to avoid and include? And I know that a lot of folks will just jump right to what herbs to take, what supplements to take. And really, we've got to go, like you said, below that to what are you eating that's aggravating the situation as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah. And I think one of the things is we think we always need more, when in fact, especially over 50, we need less, right? We need more intermittent fasting, more prolonged fasting in order to get our bodies reset, functioning well, cleared, unclogged, all those, defogged, I don't know, all those things. And that's part of it. So, like I'm a big proponent. I created what I call the keto alkaline plan of eating and lifestyle, because it's more than that. Because we want to really get our bodies, alkaline. We've heard about it in functional medicine. We had a lot of controversy over it, but what we're talking about is really, I work to have clients get their urine pH into the 7.0 range, at least when they wake up in the morning, so that I know they're resting, restored, their body's been bathed in good nutrients overnight, so to speak, and they've got some good cellular health going on, at least, it's the ion shift across the cell membranes. And when your urinary pH, you wake up alkaline, that's one indicator, and it's cheap and inexpensive. I have the little urine strips that have ketones and pH on it, so we can see what's going on there. So getting alkaline is key. And so one of my favorite foods is beet greens, sauteed beet greens. I mean, I used to throw them away and then realized how great alkalinizers they were. And so, sauteed beet greens with some onions and herbs, and just, sauteed in butter, so good, and squirt on some lemon juice, and that will take the bitterness out. But that is absolutely one of my favorite foods, and I'll have that at least once a week, and sometimes much more often, especially if I'm having trouble getting alkaline. So things like a lot of greens, our plate should be 75%, really alkalinizers. And then we look at healthy proteins and fats. And honestly, again, the studies in menopausal women working on ketogenic diets and all these other things, it's just, they're not there in abundant, any good reliable data. What we did in our over 300 women who have gone through magic menopause is put them through a keto alkaline program with intermittent fasting. So when I talk about ketosis for women, It's not about eating, butter and bacon, okay? It's a common misunderstanding. It's really about, is healthy fats. We need fats for our hormone. We absolutely need fats for our hormone levels, but we really need more of the intermittent fasting, more down to 2 meals a day, and to slowly work into that. We can't jump into it, and sometimes you'll be at 1 meal a day and maybe, a day of fasting in between and things like that. But that really is a way to keep our body balanced hormonally. But there are challenges, of course, with that. And we go into that with the programs, but getting into this, periodic levels of ketogenesis, ketosis, and getting your pH alkaline are huge. So what other thing is that, I have clients we know, according to breast cancer research, Ritamarie, and this study, we talked about it when we did a Facebook Live before, and it showed that if women had over 12.5, at least 12.5 or more hours between dinner and breakfast, intermittent fasting, they had a significantly decreased risk of breast cancer. Y'all, we need to be shouting that. That needs to be front page news
all over the place, and it's not a hard thing to do. I mean, have your finish your dinner by 8 o'clock at night. Don't eat again till 9 o'clock the next day. And I mean, how hard? Yeah, really.
Well, and I try to encourage 15 hours. So not eating after 6 and after 9, eating before 6 p.m. Finish, we don't have to, and make that a lighter meal. It's definitely not our American way, but we've got to change our American way if we want a healthy next generations to follow us, right? And so I think that, that's an important aspect, is that really trying to work up to that 15 hours and more frequent intermittent fast. And I think that does keep us in check. And all the other good things we know about fasting, right? Increasing autophagy, so helping eliminate weak cancer cells.
Yeah, I love that. Do you feel like getting into ketosis, or that people will actually get into ketosis with 12 or 13 hours?
No, not women.
No.
We don't. Very hard. It's very hard. We really need, but it's interesting though, right? So that GI rest may have something to do with the decreased risk of cancer, but I don't think we're actually getting into ketosis. For me, it's a good, it's probably a good 24 hours of fasting before I get into ketosis, or if I'm using very, very strategically, less than 25 grams less than 25 to 35 milligrams of grams of carbohydrates per day, then we're going to get into
less than 35
consistently. Consistently after 3 days, we'll get into ketosis.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
It is hard.
It is hard, but I mean, it's worth it to do it periodically. Even just the 24 is what, and I talk to people about intermittent fasting. I like to talk about what you said, having that at least 12 and a half, 13 hours. I like 15, also 16 hours between dinner and then lunch, or the next meal. For me, it ends up being lunch. And then periodically, like maybe once a week or more, once every 2 weeks, to do a 24-hour fast, where you eat dinner one night and then you skip everything until dinner the next night. Now you've gotten 24 hours. It's hard at first for a lot of people, especially if they're in adrenal fatigue. But what have you found is there a way to ease people into that? Have you found that?
Yeah, definitely. First, I always do like to work them up to, if we're doing our protein shakes, my keto alkaline protein shakes, because it's 0 grams of sugar. So to spend a day ahead of time just doing the shakes, if they can, shakes or green juices in with that, but you really want to stay low carbohydrate. So I would just do the shakes, water, tea, bone broth for a day or two, and then go into your 24-hour fast, because we really want to move the toxins out safely as much as possible. So having regular bowel movements before we do that, that complete fast. So I found that it really, again, you and I, we've been detoxing for years. And if we go into a prolonged fast, it can be taxing on us. So if you're not used to doing it, if you haven't been detoxing, supporting phase 1 and phase 2 pathways for detoxification, then don't go into it right away. Ease yourself into it, 12 and a half, 15. Get comfortable with that. Go to somewhere, around 20, and then just kind of get a feel for it. But let me tell you, your ghrelin is going up, so your hunger hormone is going up for the first 24 to 48 hours. So it really peaks, at 48 hours. So staying in that fasting state can sometimes be challenging. So you really want to prepare yourself well to ease back into it, so you're not all of a sudden binging. And that's another thing. Otherwise, maybe go into a 3-day fast and you're really not hungry at day 3. And that's often what I'll do initially with just using protein shakes, 2 or 3 protein shakes for those 3 days to kind of be acclimated into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it because there's not enough carbohydrate in there to take you, and then you could get into ketosis conceivably.
Yeah, there's 0 grams of sugar.
Right? Everybody's a little different with the keto, how long it takes. Some people go in really quickly. Some people could take 2 or 3 weeks of very low carbs. So everybody's a little different. So be patient with yourself and with your clients and give them what they need to do that. I see some questions coming in though. You want to take some questions?
Yay! Okay. Absolutely.
Ben wants to know, what do you think of using royal jelly?
I don't have experience with royal jelly.
Okay, that's a fair enough answer. She also says it's postulated that menopause can be postponed through optimum nutrition and other health practices, perhaps for 1 or 2 decades. Do you care to comment on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was in premature ovarian failure, early menopause at age 39, right? And so now I'm at 51, maybe in my 3rd menopause, I'm not sure. So you can definitely restore hormone balance, resume periods. It depends on the reason for the menopause, right? Once the ovaries are done, they're done, but often they're not done when you're in those early symptoms of menopause, or your periods have stopped and it's actually you don't have enough progesterone, and that's why you're not having a period, and that's why you're at risk for endometrial cancer. So we've got to, again, what is the underlying reason? What's going on? What's the body type? What's the, what's happening to the uterine lining? What do the ovaries look like? All those things. But we can do a lot to restore the ovaries and restore the adrenal glands, like we can do to shock the thyroid into functioning again. So I think that we can definitely do a lot to help restore our hormonal balance. Now, something that's really important is a recent study looked at women who went through menopause in the early 40s, 40, 42. They're actually age significantly faster than their peers who go through menopause at age 50. And so that's internally and externally, right? We mostly worry about the external, but we've got to worry about the internal even more so. And so that's something to consider. So looking at the underlying reasons and what we how we can do it. But yeah, I mean, a whole part of, I say with my Mighty Maca formula, that really helped restore my hormone balance. And then after being told I would never have another child at 39 because I was in, premature menopause, I had Ava at 42. And so, I say never give up, right? Always keep going. There's a constellation of things that we have to address to maintain and optimize our health. It's not just one thing. And so I totally believe that, each woman and man has the power to completely regenerate and improve their health.
Absolutely. We're going to go through a lot of that foundational stuff at Shine, because I think a lot of times we want to jump into what fancy herb and what fancy supplement do we need, and we really need to be looking very carefully at what people are eating, what they're thinking, how their emotions are, what kind of energetic blocks they may have from prior traumas and all that. So we'll go through that. And if you are going to join us, it's shineliveconference.com. So Jane says hair loss is a big issue that clients tell us about. I hear that a lot too. So what's going on there, and what are some of the things we should be looking at to help them to stop the hair loss?
Yeah, our knee-jerk reaction for hair loss is thyroid. So we check the TSH and say it's normal, it's not your thyroid. And in fact, it's a lot more than that. So there are many reasons for hair loss. We can look at, what's going on at the follicular level of the hair. Is there, any issues? Again, how are our cell membranes functioning? But what I see most commonly and what I suffered with and was temporal hair loss, male pattern hair loss from stress. And typically we see a lot of hair loss from stress. So stress is going to increase the enzyme 5-alpha reductase, which increases the conversion from testosterone to dihydrotestosterone. So you get this male pattern hair loss. And that's horrible. It's frightening. It's just, I just can't stand it. So you want to do things that block 5-alpha reductase. Number one, of course, you want to reduce stress, improve meditation, breathing, all those good things that bring down our cortisol level, you know, restore our adrenal glands. But we also want to block that enzyme. So I use a lot of zinc. I use something called Testoplex from Zymogen. Also, that has some mung bean extract and Swiss oats, and that's a great blocker and very safe. And so I've used that quite successfully. It keeps testosterone free. And then, you know, again, our B vitamins, and you can use other nutritional supplements to help with that. Vitamin A, vitamin D, B vitamins, and a biotin, of course, and some good nutrients there. But you got to reduce the inflammation. You know, we've got to figure out where the inflammation is coming from and kind of try to troubleshoot. Is it hormonal? Is it inflammatory? Is it digestive? Is it yeast? What's going on? And over the years, I've used all kinds of solutions, potions, and concoctions, but finding that really getting good progesterone levels on board and getting good lifestyle practices, getting your body keto alkaline, especially alkaline, on urinary pH makes a big difference in that health of your hair and everything else. I mean, I had a very, I don't have my hair up, or I would show it to you, but I had a very, went through a really, after the hurricane last year, we had the hurricane this year, we had the hurricane last year, but during that time period, 5 moves, mold toxicity, my hair was really dry and straw-like. And I could show to you now, it's really silky and long and strong. And I had lost hair, and I start to lose it here at the temporal region. So I start to freak out because I had a really bad problem like that a decade ago. And so, you know, getting stability, you know, really focusing on the present, here and now, makes all the difference. And then I do some hair solutions too, some homemade hair solutions that help.
Homemade, you want to share those?
Yeah, it's really easy. I mean, like I do this for my daughter because she flat irons her hair all the time. And so it's really burnt and blonde. My 18-year-old. So I, you know, when she's home from college, I make this concoction for us both, but it's just egg yolk, olive oil, and some coconut oil. Blend that up really good and let it sit in your hair for an hour or so, as long as you want, sleep in it overnight. And then that's just a good, nutritious, just giving protein back for the glossy, the shine, the smoothness, especially if you've color treated your hair. It just does. It feels so silky and everything afterwards. And so that's like that on the external, but really work on the internal.
Love it. That was a great idea.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
idea. Let's see, who else? Oh, okay, Alexandra. Oh, she said, great stuff. It's too late for me. Sadly, it's 1 a.m. GMT. So she's over in Europe. Thank you for being there. Jody says, I have no symptoms using this CBD with menopause. It completely took them away. Hot flashes and everything that goes with it, mood swings. I'm going to say that this is the cure for exiting this womanhood peaceful. So what do you think? Have you had experience with CBD? That's interesting.
Nope.
No, I don't either.
But again, is it addressing the root cause or covering up the symptoms?
Just calming things down. Right. Exactly. And Lynn says, I don't have hot flashes. You know, I've never had a hot flash. I don't even know what a hot flash feels like. So
wow.
I went through menopause a decade ago, and I never had a single hot flash. So, you know, and it's, you know, I could say it's luck or it's genes, but my family went through menopause and they had a miserable time.
Yeah, and your nutritional level, you know, I think that makes a huge difference. And unburdened digestive tract, good hormonal balance, all those things are critical. But women suffer with hot flashes. I mean, I would say over 70% of women going through menopause suffer. There are millions of women having a hot flash right at this moment. And for me, I vaguely remember my mom having a hot flash. I don't really remember so much. Very stoic woman, but, you know, loving. And I can't remember her really having a hot flash. But I did experience one, actually caught it on video. I did a Facebook Live with it because I was like, what the heck? I'm having a hot flash. I mean, what? You know, it was during the time of the hurricane, and we were eating out a lot. And it was just like, oh my gosh, This is what a hot flash was. I swear I was 200 degrees. I haven't had one since, and I didn't have one before that, but I'm like, oh, big kick in the butt. I got to just get on top of this, right? There's no, you know, you can't, right? You can't, that is not, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. And that's what I want women to understand. It doesn't have to be that way. So you're not having hot flashes. You're most likely doing something right, but, you know, it can be other symptoms. There are 8 really dreaded symptoms of menopause. If we can go through those, you know, we can think they're almost pretty obvious, but, you know, what we worry about the weight gain, right? The fatigue, the loss of energy, for sure. Brain fog, right? Is it my memory or is it Alzheimer's? Is it hormones, right? Brain fog. And these are all hormonal symptoms. And hot flashes, for sure. And irritability, mood swings. Right. We have that as well. You know, rapid aging, you know, wrinkles, dryness, all those things, vaginal dryness, loss of libido. So, you know, and then incontinence, you know, bladder leakage, you know, what's happening from loss of strength in the pelvic floor. So we can look at those things, and we could add hair loss in there as number 9. Oh, sleeplessness. I think I added too many, but those are many more symptoms of the hormone imbalance.
Cool. Yeah. I mean,
sorry.
Somebody else has other questions.
But yeah, for practitioners, your patients are dealing with that, you know, palpitation, that's a symptom of hormonal balance. And it's important that they don't get put on beta blockers that are going to drive up their insulin resistance, you know. And, you know, it's the other thing that I was thinking about the other day is how many patients early in my medical career I treated for edema, lower extremity edema with diuretics, and so not the way to go, right? So not the way to go. And then when you detox, reduce the, you know, food sensitivities, heal the GI tract, all that edema goes away. That's an early sign too for me that I've eaten something that I shouldn't have, lower extremity edema. I don't need a diuretic. I need to clean out my system. You know, I mean, that kind of stuff. We would keep women on diuretics.
For years, not
for years.
Root cause. You know, we're learning, and I think more doctors are undoing some of the learning. You learned great stuff in medical school. You know, it was wonderful. But you didn't really get the whole root cause analysis kind of training. It was like, oh, what is the symptom? Here's the drug for it. It's a simple out, and when we start to really look, we can do so much more for our patients to.
And I would say, because I went to an osteopathic medical school, but then did allopathic training at Emory University, I would think, okay, what can I do as a DO that, you know, maybe I haven't been exposed to as a, you know, as a MD or through our Emory training. And that gave me a perspective to think, okay, well, what about manipulation? What about some nutritional IV therapy for this person who's been, you know, on NPO for a week now with something or other going on, right? What are other things that we can do? You know, what's going on with movement, you know, bed sores, or what's going on with bowel movements? What are the nutritional, you know, what can we do nutritionally, et cetera, or socially, or, you know, relationally for these individuals. And so that kind of just was starting the thinking. The other thing we learned at Emory University, one of my professors, Dr. Denise Rayner, that I admired in maternal fetal medicine, because in obstetrics, we have a really unique opportunity. We see women very healthy, most of them at the beginning of pregnancy, and then some of them, very few, but very, very sick at the end of the pregnancy. So it was our responsibility as obstetricians at Emory to look at an individual early on and say, what are they at risk for developing? What is this person showing up here today at risk for developing? So from their family history, the medical history, signs and symptoms, clinical exam, you know, monitoring throughout, you know, what are they at risk for? And that's huge. That training got me thinking in these directions that, you know, really serves our patients very, very well, should they be open to it.
Well, right. They have to be open to it. But you know what I believe? Just my belief. I believe that the reason that a lot of the patients aren't open to what you or I would teach them is because they've been kind of gotten accustomed to that allopathic medical attitude. They've been trained that way. But if they're trained in a different way, right? If they get trained because their doctor is giving them an idea for root cause, for looking at their diet, for looking at their lifestyle, then that becomes the norm, right?
Right,
The new
right.
norm. But it's because, for 40 or 50 years, these women have been told, oh, you have this symptom, here's a pill. Oh, you have that, here's another pill. Oh, diet has nothing to do with it. Just eat what you want, right?
Yep.
Lose weight, cut your calories, exercise more. Done. Right?
But it's more than that, right, Ritamarie? Because it's patients are trained to think they have to accept what their insurance will pay for. And that is your quickest route to your grave. I'm sorry. Do not let an insurance company idiot dictate your health care. You are in control of your health care, right? Everyone listening, you are empowered enough and smart enough to do the right things. Maybe some of you listening are like too, lazy, unwilling, whatever, or just don't know. Right? I mean, we have that too, but it's our responsibility to figure it out. Like I will say, God has made me a very difficult subject because I'm always trying to figure out what's going on.
Right. When I asked that question when I was in my 20s, having come from that allopathic background, but they weren't able to come up with a reason for it. Didn't make sense to my computer science math brain that here you don't have an ulcer, but the ulcer medication will abate your symptoms. Just keep taking it indefinitely. At 25 years old, I said, something woke up in me, and it does in a lot of folks. And with the internet and things like this and summits, and people are getting more and more exposed, they are starting to demand this. And when we can create the demand at the patient client level, we're creating the opportunity for us as practitioners to actually really help them. So we just need to just keep on doing what we're doing. Educate, and educate the doctors as well.
And don't give up, right? Don't give up. Keep looking for the answer. And that's a part of discernment, right? What's resonating truth for you. And it's, everything is a challenge to become a good habit, right? Just have to keep working at it. Disciplines and practices just build up over time. So we have to keep doing the next right step. Because believe me, sometimes I'm just feeling too lazy to do that workout, and I'm like, okay, if I skip, I've got to do 2 tomorrow and just commit to it. Stuff like that. I mean, we have to be, fair with ourselves and honor our body, but we also can't give up on our body. I just help support a race that was a fundraiser. And, I saw women in their 70s and another woman who was 81 running. And in this, I'm like, why would I give up? You know what I mean? They're not. Why would I? So it's always good to. Absolutely. It's always good to do that. If you're thinking about giving up, go on the sideline of a race and just watch who's there, Yeah,
and actually go onto YouTube and type in or Google itself and type in female athletes over 80. And there's a ton of them, male athletes over 80. There's some of them over 90 and over 100. And it's so inspiring to hear them and to know that this body has that capability. And it's as practitioners, what we need to do is help people to identify those boulders that are keeping them from getting to where they really want to be. What is it? What habits? What prior injuries that you could be doing some things to support? What is it that's gone on in your body that's preventing you from getting there? And shift it. It's never too late to change your habits. And it's never too late to shift. They may be irreversible stuff, but for the most part, it's never too late to improve someone's function. And we're in a position, I think, where we can help so many people because they're ripe. They're ready. When I first started out in this and when you first started out in this, they weren't ripe and ready, right? They didn't know anything. We had to do so much education. And now they're coming to us and saying, well, I read about this and I heard about this thyroid thing and my doctor's not doing the right thyroid tests. And they're just asking, and we're in a position where we can help. So I encourage you all, whether you're at the very beginning stages of your education or whether you're, an MD who's been in practice for 20 years in conventional practice, learn. And some of my best students in our program are MDs who've been in practice for 20 years. 10 or 20 years, but they're coming in with the beginner's mind because they don't know what we've been studying for 25 years is the functional medicine piece of it, right? And how the body really works and how to understand. So wherever you are, whether you just graduated from IIN and are about to start doing health coaching, but you're going, I don't really know how the thyroid works. I don't understand how the microbiome really works. I want to know more. Come to Shine. Follow Dr. Anna Cabeca and I on Facebook. We're going to be starting to do way more of these kind of interviews to give you great information. But wherever you are, I would say begin with the beginner's mind. I go into everything with a beginner's mind. Like I don't go in with, I already know that. I go in with, what can I learn from this?
Beautiful. Yeah, I couldn't recommend it enough. I mean, it is just an awesome conference. Great people, great content. You mean, you break it down and build it up. So it is fantastic. And really for other physicians that are listening, like myself, and other moms in medicine especially, you know, we're taking care of our parents, our kids, our siblings, etc., right? And all our patients, all those thousands and thousands of patients. So getting this aspect in, understanding this functional aspect and the ins and outs of hormones, nutrition, you know, cellular therapy, all those things really make a difference. It makes why we went into medicine come back to the surface, right? When we see these really key little tips and pieces that are just missing from our doctor's kit, and we're able to put that into play, what a difference it makes in our satisfaction level, how beautiful it is to see patients doing even better. And that's why we went into practice. So reviving that reason we went into medical practice, why we became doctors to begin with. And it's a great place. It's a great place to start. The conference is amazing. I'm always really amazed because, you know, I'm speaking at another conference right before I go to yours, Ritamarie, and we don't give a tenth of what you give out in your conference.
Wow.
So, I mean, you give the handouts, the protocols, you know, I mean, that's huge. That's huge. That's what we need. That's what we're looking for. I mean, I had to build it from scratch. You take all that away.
And that's why I'm trying to help people to save that so they don't take all the years of ramp up that I had to go through to get to that point. And the thing is, like I was saying about the beginner's mind, and you probably have the same thing to say. I don't know, but every time I'm at my own conference and I have you speak or Dr. O'Brien speak, and the gems that come out, and hearing it from somebody else's perspective. Oh, I do that. Oh, look at that. I can do something a little bit different, and the light bulb goes off, and then I'm moving in a different direction of how I can make it better and better. So I would encourage you to consider it and just to be in the room with people who are not just into functional medicine, but functional medicine, holistic, integrative practice. And that's a key difference. And that's why the people I invite to come are not just brilliant, like, okay, I'm going to read this lab and put somebody on these supplements. It's way, way more. We talk about pillars of health and, you know, the spiritual aspects, the emotional aspects, the movement. There's all of that that's so integral and important. I get so excited when I start to talk about it.
Yeah, it's good.
If there's any other questions.
Looking forward to it.
I am looking forward to it. So if you want to give us like a 2-minute blurb on what you're planning to talk to us about there. Sounded juicy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to. So I'm excited to be really speaking about the vaginal health, right? And really our gut connection, where it comes into place and how important our vaginal microbiome is. How do we keep it healthy? Hot tips in sexual health. Tying that together, because you can't leave out that aspect. And of course, we're mostly uncomfortable, but I'm going to work to make you comfortable just with, you know, in and of yourself, to being able to approach the topic in a very easy, comfortable, safe way for clients, because it is a point of really debilitating physical issues, relational issues. I mean, these aspects of vaginal vulvar health aren't talked about, you know, are usually considered at the bottom. But when we get that right, no pun intended, right, at the bottom. But when we get that right, it really is amazing. It's amazing. It puts the twinkle.
Oops, you just went mute. Wait, you just went mute.
It really does. Oh, sorry, I had a call coming in. So we get the twinkle back in our eyes, the skip in our step, right? We really rejuvenate. And again, our feminine aspect, we don't want to have limitations. And so we'll talk a little bit about, you know, bladder leakage. We'll talk about vaginal health and sexual health. tie it into, the importance of a healthy microbiome and why nutritional aspects are important for vaginal health, right? Who knew? But of course,
right. Oh, I love it.
because women suffer. I mean, that's the reason they come to gynecologists: vaginal yeast infections, vaginal discharge, irritation. When you get older, it's dryness, it's discomfort, it's bladder leaking, it's lichen sclerosis, it's all these other symptoms that occur, and we don't want to cut that part off of us, and we can't. It's so important. There are over 9,000 nerve endings in the clitoris. We need to keep that area healthy. We need to keep that aspect of ourselves healthy for many reasons.
Yay. Yeah, so, well said. I love it. I love it. I'm looking forward to it.
And then we have time for questions, which is always great.
Time for questions, and we'll have time to, if you're a VIP, you'll get time to just hang out at lunch and breaks, and and at her booth, she's going to have a booth and show some of her products. She gave us already, we got this big, huge box with samples, and they're all beautifully, very femininely packaged. I love them. And this is not just a conference for women, by the way. It definitely, and as male practitioners, you do need to understand both sexes. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions, if that's okay, because I thought it was all coming up on my computer screen. Do you have time for 2 more questions?
Sure. I don't hear the kids yelling.
Yeah, they're quiet. Have they gone to sleep?
I don't know. I doubt it.
Okay, so we got the hair loss one. I love beet greens, Jane says. Yes, not all of them show up on my other screen. Kelly wants to know, how long should people wait between fasts? For example, if you do a 3-day fast, is it beneficial to do that again within a specific time period? Weight loss and adrenals, etc.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the individual, right? It really depends on your bounce back, your recovery. How did you feel during it? And I'm exploring that now. So I'll be talking about that more as I go through that. I'll be talking about that more in January, etc. Some more experimentation of my experimentations with fasting. But it really does depend. I mean, I think, you can go on prolonged fast. It just depends on the kind. So, I don't have a problem with it. I think definitely 3 days is a good I always think 72 hours for GI rest to help the intestinal lining regenerate. And I think that's really important. We used to really, and this is Ritamarie and I had this conversation in California. We were sitting in a spa in California. We're like talking about fasting and all kinds of geeky stuff. But we were saying, how critically important that is to just have those intermittent periods of fasting and what that can be like and why and different reasons around it. So
yeah, and one of the reasons, like you just said about the GI rest for 72 hours, doing that drink, like you talked about, like doing a protein powder or green juice or something, accomplishes that GI rest. It's when you stop the fiber from going through and it gets to heal. So it depends on the reason you're doing it too. If you're doing it to go into ketosis, you'll more rapidly go into ketosis with a full fast. But there's ways to, if you don't tolerate it even, is to drink some tea and add a little bit of MCT oil to it to help get you into ketosis faster. So there's a lot of ways to do it. So I would say for some people, doing a 3-day fast and then to do another one 2, 3, 4 weeks later could be perfectly fine. For other people, it might be too much. So
yeah, and for me now, I'm doing at least 2 days of fasting a week.
2 a week. Wow. Full fasting, 24, 48 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, but we've had, I've had 2 hurricanes in less than a year and a lot of unrest, right? A lot of mold exposure, a lot of toxicity exposure, a lot of inflammatory things, under attack. So really for me, it's been, but I've also, there's a spiritual reason, I want very clarity, a lot of discernment, really working on that. So I've been working, so it's kind of where I pushed where I'm at right now. And some less, some more, but yeah, I think it's not a bad idea to have, I would say, Friday fasting, a fast 1 day a week.
Yeah, 1 day a week is great, and it can be the 24 hours. So you're not actually going a day without food. You just eat dinner, you skip until next day's dinner, 24 hours, and that's the easiest.
But, you know, again, too, not to be afraid to go for a day without food. I mean, I think 36 hours, right? I think that's good. We need to.
I think it's good. I agree. But it's a good starting point.
Yes, absolutely.
Maria wanted to confirm for people starting to do 3 days that you can do 2 to 3 shakes as long as they don't have carbs, like your keto alkaline shake, instead as a starting point to just get that started, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Diane, diabetes doesn't discriminate. Insulin is a hormone, so many hormonal issues find functional medicine. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about insulin at the conference and the impact of that. And one of the things you mentioned earlier, and I may ask you that again at the conference, or I'll bring it up in my talk, is about that 5-alpha reductase. I see that overactive a lot in people. And one of the causes is insulin, excess insulin, right? So
yeah, insulin resistance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, your sweet spot program is one of the best programs, is the best program out there for people with insulin or diabetes issues.
Oh, we have people just completely turn it around. So Kelsey, she only had one hot flash. Now we're comparing menopause stories. Lynn says she's 51, had she went through menopause at 51 and had her last child at 42 and never had a hot flash and never had vaginal dryness. So that's cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Kelsey only had one hot flash, but her sister has them almost every 2 hours. She bought a clicker to count them. Holy cow. But she's not willing to change her diet. So
something's triggering it.
Yeah. Oh, Paulo posted a good link. You may want to go back and look at it, a study on menopause and the influence of culture. Jane, have you worked
Sure, definitely.
for dementia patients that improve when their hormones got balanced?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a big, insulin resistance, a huge trigger for that.
Inflammation, right? Again.
Inflammation, right?
Progesterone deficiency.
Yeah. Cool. So we had Venus just joined and Susan. We have all kinds of people coming and going. So let's just show our appreciation for Dr. Anna Cabeca. We've been speaking about female issues, hormones. We touched on male hormones. We touched on insulin resistance. So send some hearts and thank her for her wonderful talk here. And if you want to go deeper with this, join us at Shine, www.shineliveconference.com, and check that out over the next couple of days. So if you absolutely can't make it, I highly recommend you make it in person, because then you can eat with us and hang with us and do all the off-camera things with us. But we will be announcing a live stream in a couple of days. We're hoping that you always hope that those things go well, but yeah, we'll be announcing that in a couple of days. So if you absolutely can't make it, you can't make it, do your best to be there in person, Shine Live Conference, but go back to that same link in about 3-4 days towards the end of the week, and you'll see an option to get on with us. So I highly recommend that you do that. Thank you. Any last parting words you want to say to everybody?
No, I think that, again, just definitely I hope to see everyone at the Shine Conference. It's a wealth of information, and it's my favorite event to attend. So hope to see you all there. Love it.
Much. I'm so excited that you said that. And I would say go visit Dr. Anna Cabeca. Just do a Google search on her. You can go to Julva. Is it julva.com?
Yeah.
Julva.com. You can go to mightymaca.com and keto alkaline. I actually, with that shake, I had somebody who just hated the grittiness of these shakes. I said, well, try this one. And she tried it and she loved it. She said
it's good.
One that she could tolerate, and even her kids liked it. So way to go. So thank you so much for all you do, and for your shining presence and your wealth of information and your big, generous heart for sharing it all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to